Just got an official notification from the office of Prime Minister Binyamin Netanyahu that these three names, the three Israeli hostages, the British Israeli citizen Emily Damari and two other civilians, Romy Gonen and Doron Steinbrecher, are all slated to be released later today. We don't yet have an updated schedule, so the ceasefire is not yet in place. We're sort of I would say ceasefire, but a few hours delayed. I think we should expect to have further notification about that within the next 2 or 3 hours at most.
Right, and the National Security Minister Ben-Gvir resigned along with two other ministers from his party in opposition to the ceasefire. This is a major fracture within Israel's government.
This is a very major fracture within the Israeli government, and despite the fact that this won't topple Netanyahu, it is a blow to him. It does weaken him. The other thing that's important to mention, Ben-Gvir is the most kind of extremist nationalist. He's been an extremely prominent provocateur since this government came into being 2 years ago. He was one of the proponents of returning to war, of rejecting the ceasefire. He has been overtly rejecting of any claims that Israel had any obligation to bring its civilian and military hostages home. And so Netanyahu is now, we see him and his other ministers trying to kind of patch things up by releasing messages indicating that Israel still may return to war, and they're trying to shore up popularity among that extremist right-wing base in Israel.
And Noga, lastly, what is the general sentiment of Israelis at the moment? I mean, it must be a very anxious time for, everyone involved, but also the Israeli citizens.
Extremely anxious, extremely nerve-wracked. Last night, the entire France 24 team was at Hostages Square, and the feeling was really remarkably one of loss, a very somber feeling. And today has been a day filled with confusion until we heard just now from the office of the Prime Minister. In fact, the only thing we knew is that the list hadn't been arrived. That was announced by the Israeli army. And other than that, Israelis have been completely dependent on rumors and news coming out of Qatar, out of Doha. So I think now, again, there's a feeling of anticipation that hopefully things will go well, and these three women will be seen alive in Israel sometime later today. But a lot will depend on seeing actually that process occur smoothly as possible.